Hi, everybody. Happy Webinar Tuesday. I am so excited because we are about to talk about busting the myths of retirement with the advisor of all advisors. He is an author, a drummer, a life-centered financial advisor, mine, Mr. Bob Bove. He's going to share his story on why Wall Street is completely wrong when it comes to retirement and retirement plans. He's also going to share how his clients of all ages and stages of their personal, spiritual, business lives are enjoying a high R.O.L. And in case you didn't know what that was, it is a return on life and attaining their own unique desirement. As if you weren't already intrigued to hear everything that Bob has to say, you are now. And I am so excited that you're spending your quarantine with us today. And remember, this webinar is being recorded. You do not have to request a copy of it because it would be selfish of me not to share this amazing information. So feel free to share it with others as well because we're all about the giving. So I'm going to be quiet and let Bob drop his wisdom on you today. Thank you so much for being here today, Bob.
Well, thank you, Christy. Really appreciate it. And before I get started, I just want to let you know that I'm very grateful. Thank you for being so patient with me with regards to the technology. Yesterday, a little funny story. As old as I am, we're not really that great with technology as our children are. We are all in this quarantine situation. We FaceTime with the family, and we didn't know how to get off the FaceTime video with everybody, and the whole family's laughing. And I had to remind them, and I think this is useful for some of the older people on this call today, is I said, hey, look, you may be making fun of us because we don't know how to use technology, but don't forget who taught you how to use a spoon. So anyways, that's where I'm at technology-wise. I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful too. Thank you, Dr. Foxworth, for allowing me to have this opportunity. Ray and I have been friends and clients for over 6 years, and grateful to him as a personal friend and someone that's been very helpful to me professionally. And I'm also quite grateful to you guys for attending this today. I know this is not a subject that is very near and dear to everybody's hearts, but it's something that we have to talk about. And Christy, are we going to have the PowerPoint presentation show up on my screen now? I don't see it yet. All right, looks like we're going to get started here. So again, I am truly grateful. And one of the reasons why is, as I mentioned before, is I know that this is a topic that is a conversation that's sort of hard to have. And Christy, how do we, again, technology-wise, I'm sorry here, page down for the next screen or the arrow button?
Hit the click next at the bottom of the screen.
Click next at the bottom of the screen, which I do not see.
Should be right under the PowerPoint slide, under the 31.
Under the, yep, don't see it. I'm wondering, oh, there we go, somewhere down there. Okay, great. All right, so this is what I'm used to. This cartoon basically speaks a lot about what our industry is about and maybe how some of you feel about when it comes to retirement planning. And I just want to start off, give you a little bit of background of myself. I've been in the business for 21 years, and the majority of my clients are people just like yourselves, business owners, and we do a lot of the business owners' 401k as well as their personal plan. I'm also a business owner myself. And more importantly, I'm a human being. I'm just like you. So when it comes to being a business owner, I can relate to all the troubles and trials and tribulations that we go through as being a business owner. Employees, compliance, insurance, cash flow, taxes, those types of things. But more importantly, as a person, I can relate to you as well. All the things that we go through personally here. Planning for our college education for our kids, our retirement, and going through what we're going through today, this particular virus. And in essence, we all are very, very different, but in reality, we're all the same. We're all the same. And I think, especially in your profession, I think when it comes down to everything is, I think all of us know that we're here for a specific reason. We're here to use the gifts and talents that God has given us to serve other people. So I want to try to make this conversation a conversation that's very relatable. I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what's going on today. I think, we are living in some very uncertain times, and it would be a huge understatement not to recognize that. A lot of times in my industry, when things like this happen, I hear comments like, this is unlike we've ever seen before. But on the other hand, as far as the market's concerned, this is just like what we've seen before. This is something that is totally not under our control. And I like to tell my clients that when things like this happen, the market, and this is unique because of the health situation, and I'm not downplaying that whatsoever. But when things like this happen in the market and happen in the healthcare industry, this is something that we can't control. But what we can control is our response to this whole situation here. And one thing that I've learned is that as humans, we are all overachievers when it comes to surviving, and we're underachievers when it comes to thriving. And this is one of the things that we talk a lot about at the 4-8 group, is we talk about how to thrive in investing and thrive in life and not just survive. And our clients are prepared for times like today. They have portfolios that are allocated to their risk tolerance and time horizon. They have a specific allocation to short-term, high-quality bonds. And look, none of us like to see this type of thing happening, without a doubt, especially from the health side. From the market side, we don't like to see this. But as Marcus Aurelius, one of the great philosophers, said, is that we all are going to be faced with adversity. And it's how are we going to prepare ourselves before this adversity happens is going to dictate how are we going to get through this. None of us wants to go through adversity, but I think we would be insane to think that we're not ever going to face adversity. We're not going to face a loss of a job, a market decline, a divorce, a death in the family. But as a person, as a human being, what are the types of things that you're doing to prepare yourself for when these types of things happen? And this is one of the things that I want to share with you today on how we can help you get to the point when you get to the point of retiring, or like we like to call it, desirement. How can we prepare you for whatever your desirement may look like? And one of the things that I want to share with you today about these times, and a lot of the things that I'm going to talk to you about, is all evidence-based. You guys are evidence-based practitioners. You all know the evidence behind the benefits of chiropractic. Unbeknownst to the MA long time ago, when they were telling everybody that you guys weren't really doctors, the evidence was out there that in order to have a healthy life, you have to be seeing a chiropractor. You have to be in line. The evidence is there. So the things that I'm going to share with you today are all evidence-based. The last thing I want to say about the market, and I'll answer other questions if they come up, is I tell our clients, we can't let the headlines guide us. We have to let the history guide us. We have to look back at when times like this, what has happened in the past, guide us, not the headlines. So one thing that I'm going to throw out there, and you can get into the chat box, I want to offer a $100 gift card to whoever favorite restaurant, whoever gets this question right, a $100 gift card, and I'll coordinate this with Christy. I want someone to tell me, why does the market do what the market does from a day-to-day basis? What drives stock market prices. And Christy, please remind me at the end of this conversation to provide that answer. But let's get started with the presentation now. We'll go to the next screen here if I can find this button. Christy, I don't know. Here we go. So how many of you feel like this gentleman? And I believe this is a great place to start my story. And I want to give you a little bit of a background on myself and let you know what Bob Bove's story is. But I believe each and every single one of us can relate to this person on the hamster wheel of chasing the almighty dollar. I mean, maybe even from the moment that our foot hits the floor when we get out of bed in the morning, it seems to be all about the dollar. And it's a terrible way to live. And I'm seeing fear and emotion come up here. Great, that's one, not the answer I'm looking for, but thank you. But from a very early age, this is what drove me. I mean, money in my household, and I grew up in I was so fortunate to grow up in such a wonderful, loving family, but money was scarce. I didn't ever thought we were poor, but it was sacred. And for me, I always wanted to have money in my pocket to do whatever it is that I wanted to do, whether it was to mow lawns and go and buy candy or baseball equipment, or when I got into high school, have money to put gas in my dad's car or go out on a date. But it was always on that treadmill of chasing the almighty dollar. And it didn't change when I got out of college. And when I got out of college, I was like a lot of people. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I did know one thing, and that was I wanted to make money. I was always focused on making more money. And I had what is called when disease. When I get to this point of income, I'm going to be happy. When I buy this car, I'm going to be happy. When I can belong to this country club, I'm going to be happy. And that, again, as I said, being on that treadmill is a very, very bad spot to be. So as I got older, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I was always in sales, from insurance to teddy bears and Mylar balloons to advertising, steel equipment. I always wanted to make more money. And one of the myths when I first got started is that myth of the retirement that I want to bust is that even though I was making money, I couldn't save. I just didn't think that A, I had enough money to save, and B, more importantly, another myth, I was too young. I didn't need to worry about saving because I was never going to be old. And then when I finally got a job that offered a 401k plan, I had two girls, and all of you out there know that girls can be extremely expensive. I had the opportunity to save, but then again, there was just too many things that I wanted, and I just didn't think that I could save. But one of the most important things in my life happened when I was working at a job previously to getting into this business is I sat down at a 401k meeting, and the advisor that had the plan came in. That advisor was dressed in a suit that probably cost more than I made in 1 month, and was not relatable at all. As a matter of fact, he made me feel like I was a failure. He made me feel like because I didn't have X amount of dollars saved up at that point in time in my life, and I was about 38 or 39, that, I was just a complete failure. And the other thing that stuck out was that I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I had no clue what this guy was talking about. And I started to think, maybe there's a lot of other people out there that don't have a clue as well. So at 43 years old, I ventured out on my own, thank God with my wife's support, into this business. And when I started this business, I had my own company at the age of 43. Things started to go well. And the other myth of retirement that I'm going to address later on is, even when I had my own company, I didn't think I could afford to have a 401k plan. I just thought it cost too much. And the other myth was, I didn't think, I thought it was too late, that I was 43 years old, and why start now? I'm way behind. And that wasn't just the case. And the last myth that I have, and I'm faced with this a lot, is like most of you business owners, the other myth that we'll talk about is, man, I just can't wait to retire. Man, I can't wait. I'm tired of the day-to-day grind. I just can't wait to spend my entire life on the golf course. So those are the 5 myths. Those are the stories. I intertwine the myths within my story. But one thing that I want to let you know is that I feel for you guys. I know where you're at. I know how difficult it is to run a business. And normally the 401k is the last thing on your mind. Retirement is the last thing on your mind. But again, I appreciate the fact that you're all on this conference call. Maybe now that we're not in the throes of the business, that you can take some time and to reflect back on your 401k. And I'm going to give you some guidelines there if you actually have one. So what I want you all to take away from today's conference today is, I want to take away a few things. Number one, I hope you have a different look and you see retirement and retirement plans and investing in a different light. Hopefully you'll come away with knowing what return on life is and what desirement is, not retirement. And hopefully there'll be a call to action to take a look at the plan that you currently have, and is it the right plan for you? And most importantly, hopefully the information I'm going to give you is going to give you an opportunity to thrive in these times and not just survive. So again, Christy, I'm having a difficult time with this next button here. I'm going to keep my cursor there.
Bob,
yeah.
if you go look at that on the side where it has settings, attendees chat, look at the one and click on it where it says slides.
Slides, gotcha.
And then there's a previous and next button under the small picture of your slide. That one is.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. So anyways, a couple summers ago, I wrote a book called Beyond Wealth, 401ks, the 4-8 Way, a servant leader's guide to 401k plan design. I wrote this book because I believe that there's a huge disservice out there when we are talking to employees and business owners on what is important when it comes to plan design, what is important when it comes to 401ks, and again, some of the things that I'm going to address today. And what I mean by beyond wealth, one of the lessons that I've learned in this 21 years that I've been in business is that I'm sure you guys have all seen the advertisements on TV. What is your number? How much money do you have? Do you have enough to retire? What is your balance? What balance do you need to have? Well, one of the things that we found is that it's beyond wealth when it comes to having a successful, what we call desirement. One of the things that we found out that when you get to that point in your life when you want to slow down, boy, oh boy, you better have a great relationship with your family. So many of us spend time on that wheel that we avoid our family. And if you don't have that relationship with your family when it comes time to slow down, you're in a heap of trouble. We also found that it's very, very important to maintain a group of trusted friends, not just the friends that you work with. Health is also something that is beyond wealth. If you get to, I'm 64 years old, if you get to a point when you want to retire and you're not in great health, the number doesn't matter. And for some of us, we found that you better have a relationship with a higher power. All of those things, the number is important, but without the number, without these 4 things working with the number, you're not going to have a very, very successful retirement. And don't get me wrong, you just can't have a relationship with a higher power and not the number. It's a combination of all of these things that come into play. And so that's what we call beyond wealth. The 4-8 way, the name of our group is the 4-8 group. It's taken from Philippians 4:8, a passage by St. Paul that basically says something that I think whether or not you're faith-based, we all want in our lives. And it says, finally, brothers and sisters, focus on whatever is pure, praiseworthy, loving, admirable, true, excellent, and real. In other words, be grateful. Be grateful for the blessings that you have. Focus on those types of things. Okay, let's not focus. Let's have a vision. Let's not be stuck in our circumstances of where we're at today. Let's not be stuck in the circumstance that the market is down and your 401k or your investments are down. Let's not be stuck in the circumstances that I can't see my clients. Okay? What's the vision? What's the vision of the future? We can't be stuck in our circumstances. We truly have to be grateful for what it is that we have today. And these are a lot of the things that we talk about at the 4-8 group that has to deal with return on life as opposed to return on investment. Return on investment is very, very important as well. So some of the things that I'm going to go into now are all evidence-based. As I mentioned before, your guys' whole business is based off of evidence. I'm going to share with you some of the wisdom that I've learned, but more importantly, I'm going to share with you evidence and start busting some myths of retirement. And what we try to do at the 4-8 group is just purely education. Provide you with the evidence, provide you with the wisdom so that you can make an educated decision when it comes to return on life, when it comes to investing. And one of my favorite quotes by one of the great Stoics, Epictetus, says, "We should not trust the masses who say only the free can be educated, but rather the lovers of wisdom who say that only the educated are free." We really have to educate ourselves on these types of things. Return on life, becoming a better version of ourselves, thriving, the prudent pillars of investing. And this is what we strive to do here at the 4-8 group. What are our biggest crises that we face today? Well, this PowerPoint was put together before the crisis that we're faced with right now, but this too shall pass. But on a larger scale, what we're faced with, crisis of retirement, which I'm going to look into, and loneliness, which is a whole nother topic that I can talk about. But one point on loneliness goes back to having that friendship circle when you retire. It goes back to having a close relationship with your family members and a relationship with the higher being. But UCLA has something now where it's an epidemic. Loneliness is an epidemic. 1 out of 2 people suffer from loneliness. UCLA has even done a study on this, and they've come out with a loneliness index. But so this is something, like I said before, that we'll talk about maybe in another webinar, but I'm going to focus on retirement. A little bit of fun here. This is, I'm on the right, and an associate of mine is on the left. We like to have fun. This is a 401k presentation where we're going to do some of the same things we're going to do today. We came in and had a proposal to a 401k and busted a lot of myths. We had a lot of fun, and we ended up winning that case. So let's get to the meat of this presentation. Let's talk about what are the 5 myths of retirement. Number 1, can't wait. Can't wait to get the heck out of this business and live a life of leisure. Number 2, can't save. I just don't have the wherewithal to save. And oh, by the way, I'm going to sell my business, and that's my plan. I can't see it. It's too far in the future. I'm too young, and I'll start saving for tomorrow. Clearly, it's just way too late. I'm 43 years old. I haven't saved anything. Why save now? And the 5th myth is I can't afford it. I can't afford to have a 401k or a retirement plan in my company because it's just too expensive. So let's take a look at myth number 1, I can't wait. Okay? Because look, this is the way Wall Street wants us to retire. They want us all to be walking on the beach and simply doing nothing. And as business owners, I get that. Like I said before, there are days when we just says, we're done. I'm going to spend all my time on the beach. Or I'm going to spend all my time golfing. I know for myself, I'm a pretty lousy golfer, so I can't do that. But let me tell you, again, through the evidence, okay? And again, this picture here is really why we're on this hamster wheel. Is Wall Street wants to beat us into our head that this is what retirement looks like. And believe you and me, if this is what you think it looks like, and that's what you're aspiring to do, you're in for a lot of trouble. So let's look at some statistics first. Right now, there are 9 million retirees working. 20% of the people that are retired are working, and the majority of them are working because they want to, not because they have to. My dad, who is on this webinar, is 84 years old, will be 85 this year. Hi, Dad. Still working because he loves what he's doing. It gives him purpose, it gives him meaning, it gives him fulfillment. It's impossible, especially for you business owners, to go from 100% or 100 miles an hour to nothing. It's impossible. Leisure gets old. You go from being useful to being useless. All of a sudden, Dr. Foxworth is just Ray Foxworth now. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. No one's going to want to talk to you if you're not in your field, if you're not giving something back. And the other thing that happens is it increases our bad habits. And God knows we all have too many of those. But here's some alarming statistics too in retirement. 25% of all divorces are in my age group, 65 and above. That's because we're spending 40 hours a week now, or 100% of our time at home with our spouses. Not to say that that's bad, but that's a fact. Declining health. I can't tell you how many people I know whose health, because they're just sitting around doing nothing, is declining rapidly. And sadly, according to the CDC, the highest rate of suicide, besides teenagers, is retirees. They lost their purpose. They lost their meaning. They lost their relevance. And see, going back to that picture of the couple on the beach, that's what Wall Street basically wants us to do. They want us to fund ourselves to irrelevancy. And I'm telling you, there's a much better way. And this, again, as I just said, we all have one thing in common. Okay? A couple things in common, right? We want to be relevant. We want to be fulfilled. And I think all of us want to maintain that purpose in life that we have to serve others. And you're not going to be able to do that by just hanging out and fishing or golfing or just relaxing. We have to find that second back nine in our lives that's going to allow us to be fulfilled and relevant. And that's what we call desirement. We also talk a lot about R.O.L. It removes this artificial finish line that Wall Street and the media has put on our lives. That at 59 and a half or 65 or earlier, if you're successful, that we need to retire and put ourselves on the shelf. R.O.L. takes the focus off of accumulation, and it talks about the balance of means and meaning. And R.O.L. basically, in its basic definition, means living the best life possible with the amount of money that you have. Now, I have so many people coming into my office saying, I don't have enough, Bob. I'm way behind and I'm not going to be able to retire. I'm like, according to who? According to who are you way behind? According to Wall Street? I think we're all way behind, according to Wall Street. And we want people then to use money for what it's meant to use, to be used by. And that's basically a tool, a utility, a sale, to be manipulated to get each and every single one of you to your destination, to your desirement, to whatever it is that you want to do. The money has to be outside of the circle of what is important to us. Too many times the focus is on the money being in the middle, and then that allowing us to do whatever the money says we can do. No, we have to have ourselves in the middle, who we want to spend our time with, what we want to do, and manipulate money in that way. And in that way, regardless of what it is you want to do, you're going to have a high return on life. And we talk about this thing called desirement. We define desirement like this, as I just sort of mentioned, living life how you want to live it. See, so many of us just get down on ourselves because we don't think we put enough aside. And I'm telling you, that doesn't have to be the case. You know, having enough purpose to get up in the morning and enough wealth to sleep at night, that's the ideal retirement / desirement. So I'm going to ask every single one of you right now on this webinar, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think who and what makes you the happiest in your life. Who in your life makes you the happiest? Who do you love the most? And what things do you love to do the most with those people that you love the most? And that's your desirement. And that's what you should be funding your desirement on, not what Wall Street says. And everybody's desirement is going to look a little different. It's going to look a little different. I wish we had some crowd participation here. I've closed out the chat box here, but I'm sure some of you know who this gentleman is. Some of you don't. This is Dickie Betts, one of the founders of the Allman Brothers Band. Was just interviewed by Dan Rathers about a month ago. And in the interview, Dan said, "Hey, Dickie, I understand that you retired a couple years ago, but now you're back on the road. Talk to me about that, Dickie." And Dickie said, "Well, I thought that I would fish and golf for the rest of my life. And that lasted about 18 months. And Dan Rather said, "Well, why did you retire then?" He goes, "Well, I was really getting tired of the road. And after 18 months, you came back and now you're touring again. Tell me about that." And Dickie said, "Well, I came back because I missed being on the road." He missed the very thing that he retired from. And ladies and gentlemen, this plays over and over and over again to people that come into my office. In this next picture here, that's Dickie back in the day, and this is what Dickie's doing now. He's touring with his kid. He's doing what he loves to do with someone that he loves very, very much. To me, that is the perfect picture of a perfect desirement. So I'll share with you now real quickly a really good video with respects to what I'm just talking about. Christy, you want to start this video?
Sumiko Iwamuro spends her days in the kitchen of her family-run restaurant. She and her brother have been making dumplings here for the past 60 years. But by night, instead of chopping meat, 82-year-old Sumiko is dropping beets in Tokyo's red light district.
You're going to have to unmute yourself. I had to mute you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. And you're going to pull the presentation up, and I'm going to click on slides, right? Awesome. Yeah, there's a perfect example. 82 years old, has a sushi store, but she drops beets, at 82 years old. I love it. So think about your own desirement. What does that look like? I'll share with you what mine looks like. So as Christy said, I'm a drummer in a band. This is something that I plan on doing as long as I can. I love getting with my mates. I love making music. I love watching people dance to the music. And more importantly, it's very therapeutic to me. I also want to continue to hang out with my buddies and golf and do those types of things, people outside of work. I also want to continue to spend time with my lovely wife, Lori, and travel and do the things that we love to do. And then also spend time with my granddaughter, who is not quite the drummer that I would want her to be yet, but that's Bob Bove's desirement. So I challenge all of you to think about that. What does your desirement look like? And then the money becomes secondary. Fund it to that. Don't fund it to what Wall Street says. Okay? So I think we're on to the, this is some little bit of evidence that I wanted to share with you. Again, going back on evidence, I was thinking the other day when it comes to investing, that investing in life are quite a lot alike, in that there's a lot of evidence out there that knows, that tells us we know what we need to do to have a happy, healthy life. The evidence says we should eat right. I should put, and we should see a chiropractor. We should exercise. We should get enough sleep. We should be involved in servant leadership. And we should take care of our soul. We know in order to have a healthy, happy life, those are the few things that we need to get into the habit of doing. In investing, we also know, based off of evidence, We need to start early. We need to delay gratification. We need to ignore the headlines and the financial media. If we have time, we'll talk about the use of index funds and the importance of having a life-centered plan that revolves around desirement and return on life, and not just a financial plan. And those all involve habits. We'll talk about habits in a second here, but this is one of my favorite quotes from Warren Buffett. The change of habits are too light to be felt until they become too heavy to be broken, both good and bad. I think that is so important because we all are a result of our habits. We all are a result of our habits. And the chains of habits are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. Warren Buffett was spot on there. Myth number 2, I can't save. My business is my retirement. Look, as I said earlier, I had 2 girls who are now 34 and 30. I was living the dream, just getting started in my business, you name it. Business was great, but I was just not seeing the fact that I should pay my future self. And I just wanted to pay myself and have everything then or now for that matter. And quite frankly, guys and gals, your business is my retirement, therefore I need not save. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out because my experience has shown me that, and I'm sure you all have seen it now, industries change, okay? All you got to do is take a look around. What did Uber do to the taxi industry? What did Amazon do to the book industry? What about the medical profession? What about your own profession? How have things changed? What about my profession on how things have drastically changed with robo-advisors and those types of things? So that myth that you can't save or that your business is your retirement is exactly what it is. It's a myth. So this is an example that I show a lot of people on what the value of small, little incremental habits can amount to. And you've all heard this before. If I took a penny and I doubled it every day for 30 days, what would I have? And I usually go through the exercise. A penny goes to 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents, 16, 32, 64, $1.28, $3.56, $7.12 after 7 days. Not much, but after 30 days, it's actually $5.3 million. Now, we can never do that as investors. We can never save that because the day before it went to 7 or 5.3, it was actually 3.6 or 2.65. But the point I want to make here is that compounding interest, like all good habits, you don't see the result immediately. It's over time. And by the way, one of the best tools that you guys have to save for retirement is a qualified 401k, simple IRA retirement plan. Because yes, as Ray will attest to, and this is why Ray hired me as his advisor, I convinced him that regardless of the investments that Ray invested in, Ray's going to make, and he has, every year, 73% return on his money. Ray just fell off his chair wondering what the hell Bob Bove is talking about. Let me share with you how he's doing that. Let's say that you make $1,000 a year, and I tell you that you need to put 10% of your pay away, and you tell me you can't. It's just, I got too much going on, college education, so on and so forth. I can't afford to put that $100 away. So you put the $100 back in your pocket. You don't put the $100 back in your pocket. I was being facetious. Uncle Sam is going to take his greedy share of it. He's going to allow you to put $70 back in your pocket. Well, by having a 401k plan like Ray has, once that person decides he can save that $70, he then has that $70 he puts into his 401k plan. He's using Uncle Sam's money because Uncle Sam was allowing him to put it in pre-tax. So now he's putting $100 into his plan, not $70. And then if you have a 3% match on that $1,000, there's another $30 that Ray is giving to his employees. His employees just took what he was going to put in his pocket, $70, and turned it into $130. That's a 73% return on your money, and the money is not even invested yet. That's a 73% return on your money before it even gets into the market. We're talking about the myth of I can't save. Yes, you can save. This next screen here will show you, for those of you that have a plan and those of you that don't, and you're considering putting some money away for retirement, let me share with you this screen. All of our clients ask us, how much money should I be putting away? This is called what we call 10-1 now. We think that everybody should put away 10% of their income. Now, a lot of people can't do that. I get that. But let me show you an example of what could happen if you start at a little lower rate and increase your amount by 1% per year. The difference that it could make in someone's balance, regardless of their age. All three of these employees make $40,000 a year, 6% rate of return on their money, and no raises. Susan takes Bob's advice and puts 10% of her pay away, $4,000 a year for 35 years. 445 grand a year is what she has after 35 years. George, on the other hand, says, got too much going on, Bob. Can't afford to put that much away. He's like a lot of us, but he starts at 5%, and look what he does. He increases his deferrals, his savings, by 1% every year. And look what he has after 35 years, 405 grand. By the way, he stopped when he got to 10%. $35,000 less than Susan. Morgan, on the other hand, is like a lot of people. She says she's going to put 1% more away. Life happens. She doesn't. We call that the $225,000 mistake. She has $225,000, 200 some thousand dollars less than George. 1% more per year in what your savings, ladies and gentlemen, can amount to a large amount of money and can really get you there for those of you that don't believe you can get there or that it's too late. One thing that I failed to mention, when I was 40 years old, when I got into this business at 43, I was lucky enough to have an article written about me in a pension magazine. And it quoted me in there as saying, at the age of 40, Bob and Lori only had 45 grand saved in their retirement. And that's true. And my wife wasn't too happy that that made a national publication. But I was making a point there that it's never too late to start. And I was fortunate enough, just like all of you, as business owners, we have the opportunity to make things happen and to make more money so that we're able to put more money away and to have a great retirement plan, whether it's a simple IRA or 401k, which I'll touch base on. So as business owners, you do have this in your control. And you can, if you feel you're behind based off of your desirement, get to where you feel that you should be. What does 1% more per year mean? In that example, 40 grand a year is the base salary that we're looking at. 1% of that person's salary was $400 a year. Do the math for whatever you're working or earning. But in my example, that employee or that owner or that person, 1% of 40 grand was $400 more per year out of their budget. But by the time you take income tax out of that, that's roughly $300, $280 a year, $30 a month. I know all of us take our phone, not all of us, most of us take our phone, and back when Starbucks were open, would go and spend that or spend that money anywhere else on something else in a heartbeat. I order a tall blonde or a grande blonde every day, 7 days a week, $2.45. Do the math. That's a lot of money. And that money can be put towards retirement. And every person that I ask them to put in 1% more per year, the following year come back to me and say, Bob, I never missed it. And what an impact it's made on my balance. So let's take a look at myth 3 and 4. I'm too young. I'll start tomorrow. Remember, I talked about when disease? When I get more money, when I get the house I want, then I'll save for retirement. Or as I mentioned earlier, business is my retirement. But myth number 4 is I'm too old. It's too late. And I was like that when I started my business, as I mentioned before. And all of a sudden, right, we're too young. We can't see ourselves being 64 years old. We go from being the coolest one in the room, at least in our own eyes, right, to being the oldest one in the room. And all of a sudden, life has passed us by. And every single one of us, we're told by our parents, start young. And we never do. And so for those of you that are in this webinar that are young, please don't make the same mistake that I made. Start now. We'll address that in a second. And for those of you that think you're too old, you're not too old. There's things that we can do that we can help you get over that myth, that barrier. As I mentioned before, most of us are business owners on here. We can take steps to do that. I'm not going to play that one, Christy. We'll go to this next screen. You know, we all have, especially the young people, and myself included back in the day, I'll start tomorrow. Well, guess what? Tomorrow never comes, like this sign says that I found in a bar. Free beer tomorrow. So remember that when it comes to, I want to save tomorrow. It will never come if you don't catch it in time. So what I want you guys to start to understand here about getting started at a young age is that life is about tiny, repeatable choices and habits. As I said before, life and ourselves are formed by our habits. And there's a lot of talk right now about habits by a gentleman by the name of James Clear. He wrote a book called Atomic Habits. I recommend that you all get that book if you don't have it already. And he talks about something called the short game versus the long game. And I'm talking to the young people now on why you want to get into the habit of saving. The short game and the long game goes like this. We all know the story of the janitor or the teacher who, when she retired, left millions of dollars to a charity. And we looked at her like, how did this happen? Well, she was playing the long game. Okay? Most of us play the short game. And here's the difference. The short game is very easy to play, very gratifying to play at first, but very hard to stop playing. In other words, why do my homework today? I'm not going to get straight A's tomorrow. I'll go out and play with my buddies. Why work out today? I'm not going to get fit tomorrow. Why should I invest in my relationship? I'll stay home and work a little bit longer. Why invest in my 401k today? I'm not going to become a millionaire tomorrow. The short game is deferring gratification, is delaying gratification, is the opposite of delaying gratification. It's, I want everything simple now. I want to do things that are fun. I don't want to do things that make me suffer a little bit. Because if I invest in my 401k, like I said earlier, I'm not going to become a millionaire tomorrow. However, we all know when it comes to working out or eating properly, yes, we're not going to see those changes immediately. But by eating properly 1 week, working out 1 week, working out a month, working out 6 months, investing in my 401k over a year, investing in my relationship, those relationships, those habits become repeatable. A year down the road, you're going to be healthier. You're going to be in better shape. 5 years down the road. And those habits that we form, saving now, it's very, very hard to see what happens, the outcome of those little habits. But down the road, they become so huge. And the long game is very hard to play, okay? But it's very, very hard to stop. Like Warren Buffett said, the chains of habits are too light to be felt until they're too hard to be broken. Both good and bad. So I want all of you to start getting into the habit in your life as well, doing the things that we need to do, but in investing as well and starting your 401k retirement plan. Now we're going to get to the meat of my presentation here on what all of you should do. Right now, myth number 5, I can't afford to have a plan because it's just too expensive. I got too many other things coming up in my life right now. This is where I was at. This is where Ray was at when he started. And there's ways of getting there. And I'm going to show you how to get there if you don't already have a plan. And if we have time, talk about a few things that if you do have a plan, what are some of the things that you should be looking at? So here's what having a plan allows you to do. Number one, as an employer, your biggest challenges as a business owner are what? Employees, cash flow, and taxes. Maybe insurance and that type of thing in your industry. But by having a retirement plan helps in two of those areas. It helps keep good employees, and it helps reduce your taxable income and also the tax to your corporation. Now, there's two types of plans that you can have. And I'm going to show you in the next screen how to decide which one. There's two different retirement plans, and this is where both Ray and I started off with. Ray and I started off with a simple IRA. A simple IRA allows you to defer $13,000 a year, or if you're over 50, $16,000. There's a $3,000 catch-up. A 401k allows you to save 19 grand a year, and a $6,000 catch-up for those of you over 50. Simple IRA, you can have a match. It could be either 3% or it could be 2%. In a 401k, you don't have to have a match. Or you can have a 4% match and a 3% safe harbor if you decide, but you do not have to have a match. Simple IRA, you do not need a third-party administrator because it does not come under any ERISA guidelines. 401k, you do. You need to have a third-party administrator like Ray has. Simple IRAs, very limited to plan design, but it's a good place to start. You don't have loans, you can't have automatic enrolling and those types of things, where in 401ks, plan design will allow you to do some extra things. Simple IRA, guys and gals, will cost you nothing. No administration cost whatsoever. 401k, about $2,500 to $3,000 a year to have one. Okay? So how do you decide which one is best for you? Do a little diagram here. If you're 50 years or older, yes, and if you can save 25K a year, I would recommend the 401k. If you cannot save more than 25K a year, I would recommend having a simple IRA. If you're under the age of 50 and you can save more than 19K a year, have a 401k. If you can't, the simple IRA is the route for you to go. There's your choices. You are business owners, and we can help you set both of these types of plans up like we've done with Ray. And the last thing I want to share with you, when it comes to investing, again, you guys have time now to take a look if you have your own plans. Take a look at your 401k. And here's the thing about investing. I want you to know that you can only control what you can control. You can't control this virus. You can't control the market. But what you can control when it comes to investing, and this is why evidence-based investing is so simple. You can control your fees. Make sure you're using nothing but low-cost index funds. If you're not using Vanguard or Dimensional Fund Advisor in your 401k, you need to reevaluate. Make sure when you're investing that you're allocated in line with your risk tolerance and time horizon. I'm sure I'm invested a little bit more conservatively because of my age than someone that's younger. And make sure that you're diversified. In other words, you own every single asset class that you can own. And here's the other thing that you can control. Control your savings. Be disciplined. Save that 1% more per year. And most importantly, don't let the headlines guide you. Don't read or watch what we call investment pornography. These are the things that you can control. Look, when it comes to investing, if you're following the evidence, investing is extremely simple. So I believe Do we have any questions, Christy, before I go to this next video?
We do not.
Okay. Well, I thank all of you for your time. And one of the things that I want to share with all of you before I leave is a little video that I think will help all of you in your businesses. It will help all of you in your personal lives. It's a video by Chick-fil-A, which is a requirement of all employees of Chick-fil-A to watch. And it revolves around the fact that all of us have a story. All of us were born into a story. And if you want to have deep relationships with your employees, with your clients, with your patients, you need to get to understand their story. And before Christy starts this video, I want to thank all of you again. Please watch this video. The last screen on the PowerPoint that I'll take you to after the video is our website, my contact information. If you want to talk to us, please reach out to us. There's some really good videos on the website. Thank you again for your time. And Christy, you can start that video now. So I think that, Christy, you might want to share that. You've got that video yourself. You might want to share that with everyone. Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, it might help if I unmute myself.
Okay. All right.
We had one question come in. Somebody wanted to know what your thoughts were on a Roth IRA.
Yeah, I think a Roth IRA is a great way to start. It depends on how much money you make. You may or may not qualify to be able to do a Roth IRA, but that is a good place to start. And limit on that, if you're under the age of 50, is $6,000. If you're over the age of 50, it's $7,000. So yes, that's any type of savings will help. And Roth IRAs are tax-free when they come out, so it's a very good investment to make.
Absolutely. So I don't see any more questions. But I'm going to pump the slides back up here. I did include Bob's information, contact information in the chat box. There it is. Also, so there it is. If you have any additional questions, you want to reach out to him, or you think of them, because I am notorious for thinking of a question 30 minutes or the day after a webinar has gone or taken place, because that's just my MO. I'm just going to remind everybody that we have more webinars this week, because, you know, we're doing the whole helping you through this COVID-19. Tomorrow, we're going to have Dr. Scott Munsterman here at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central. And again, y'all got to bear with me on these webinar times. We're trying to cram as much information as possible during the week. We're going to be talking about what should you do if one of your patients that you've treated is now tested positive, or what happens if someone in your office, an employee or yourself, tests positive for COVID-19. What do you need to do? So that's tomorrow's webinar with Dr. Scott Munsterman. We are also going to have, on the other side of chaos, Dr. Alan Berquist. And he has a ton of great people who are going to be joining him on this fabulous webinar. One of my all-time favorite people to quote, Dr. Larry Markson, Dr. Damon Walton, Dr. Bart Anderson, Dr. Danny Drubbin, Dr. Allen himself, and Dr. Dave Neibauer. And it's basically how to lead through change and get through all this craziness that none of us ever expected. We're following that webinar on Thursday. We have an hour later, Show Me the Money with Dr. Ray Foxworth and friends. Y'all, I'm just tickled pink because I don't get to have my boss on here very often to do a webinar. So I'm excited. And we're going to talk about all of the options for you, including unemployment for self-employed business owners. We're going to talk about more about the SBA loans, all of the crazy things going on. What we want to talk about is making sure that you are getting money in your hands and into your business to get you through these trying times. So to register for those, you can go to the ChiroHealthUSA.com/COVID. Really, if you just go to our website, it is a gigantic banner at the top of the screen. You can also see upcoming webinars for the coming weeks under webinars here. And again, everything is being recorded. Everything is being sent out to you. So you can see what's going on in this world. We're going to have how to create patient loyalty with care plans. Because again, business is going to get back to usual real soon. And then again, we're going to be adding some more things to address COVID-19 in the coming weeks. So I want to thank you all for your time today. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. I'm sitting here with two screens and can't figure out what I'm supposed to click. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day and a fabulous week. And we'll see you again tomorrow when we are broadcasting live from quarantine day 16 and talking about, how we can help you. Again, any thoughts, feedback, suggestions, email me, Christy@ChiroHealthUSA.com. Love you bunches, guys. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.